I think it is clear to believe in the power of ideas.
Fresh thinking of the Manhattan Institute.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to welcome you on behalf of the Manhattan Institute to a celebration of the life and legacy of one of the most luminous and consequential figures of our age, William F. Buckley. An old friend and neighbor of Bill's in Connecticut was grumbling the other day about not being invited to his funeral. It was, he said, limited to closest friends and family members, which with such a very big and close family amounted to a pretty sizable crowd. I began to think about what kind of space you'd need to hold all those who think themselves Bill's intellectual descendants. Yankee Stadium would overflow. It would take something like Times Square on New Year's Eve, at least. Our panelists, some of Bill's most august intellectual heirs, will speak in detail about his ideas, and they'll tell you about his heroic accomplishments of creating a thoughtful and powerful American conservatism almost single-handedly. But it occurs to me how prescient Bill was in forging not only the content of our conservatism, but also the vehicles for spreading it. From the outset of his career, in Goddard Man at Yale, he saw that the universities were trying to indoctrinate their charges with a monolithic liberal worldview, a trend that has only strengthened over time. How to do an end run around the profs. Nowadays, when 2 or 3 conservatives are gathered together, their reflex response to this question is to start a magazine. But half a century ago, founding National Review as a kind of counter-university was a stroke of original genius. Add to that the genius of making it so literate, so intelligent, so witty, and so pertinent a magazine, with such talented writers, guided and fired up with enthusiasm by so dazzling a skipper, and so well-trained that in his absence, they can man the helm with perfect skill and confidence. Not content with one medium, Bill also conceived Firing Line, through which, as the longest-running talk show host in TV history, he brought his worldview not just to thousands, but to millions. A magazine, they say, is the lengthened shadow of its editor, his character as well as his mind. And NR's wit, literacy, intelligence, iconoclasm, and courage are Bill through and through. He was, in addition, urbane, gracious, playful, zestful, life-affirming, tireless, and gallant. As editor, broadcaster, nurturer of talent, speechmaker, musician, novelist, yachtsman, and power broker, he accomplished what would take others 2 or 3 lifetimes. His friend Taki writes that on one skiing jaunt in Switzerland with Bill, he himself went out gambling at night, while Bill, quote, wrote a few books, played the harpsichord, wrote a few columns, taped a few shows, ran for mayor. It seemed like that. And all this he did with what Burke called the unbought grace of life. He was the perfect incarnation of the democratic Republican gentleman, improving upon the graces of the old world by joining them to the energy and openness of the new. In this, as well as teaching us how to think, he taught us how to be. Moderating our proceedings will be National Review senior editor Jay Nordlinger, whose recent collection of pieces it is entitled Here, There, and Everywhere. Aptly. After all, Jay is the music critic of the New Criterion and the New York Sun, as well as an editor and writer on politics, foreign affairs, and the arts for NR. Newspapers these days, it's well known, are having to make do with smaller and smaller staffs. With Jay, they could manage with a staff of one. Jay Nordlinger.
Well.